want to talk for a second about students. We've spent a lot of time with students over the past several years and trying to understand their perspective. A couple of years ago, we started doing a contest where students could write essays about their education, how important it was. They could do videos. And last year, we asked students about their goals, what they wanted to do with their lives, what they wanted to do in school, just their goals. It was a pretty general question. Let me show you some of what we heard from them. I'll let you hear directly from these students.
I'm 17 years old, and a goal I'd like to achieve is to make a living doing what I love, which is making music. I think life should be about happiness and doing what you love, and be able to generate a steady income doing whatever that is. To me, that's the ultimate goal.
As a fourth grader, I have 3 goals that I'm working on right now. First is the spelling bee. My goal for the spelling bee is to slow down and think about the word I'm spelling. My motivation is to be the best me I can be.
I just wanted to say that my goal is to influence people in a positive way. A lot of people, they don't believe in themselves, and they don't understand, like, there's somebody out there that cares about you.
I also have a lot of goals, and today I would like to talk about one of those goals. At the first of the year, I set up a goal to place top 10 at the 4th grade Hershey track meet.
Well, one of the things that really struck me about that, and those are just a few examples of what we saw and we heard from individual students, was the uniqueness of their goals. They all wanted to do something different, whether it was win an athletic competition, spelling bee, or do things that were going to help other students realize how valued they were in society. It was very interesting, and the question is, okay, can we use this kind of information about students' goals to help connect their education to what they want to do? I would argue that we can. And in fact, that students can do that. It's interesting, I had students explain to me the physics of basketball. Not being a basketball player, I didn't understand that, but I've had students explain that to me, the physics of baseball. Now, my daughter explained to me that chemistry is actually all math. I didn't know that. I thought I was pretty good at chemistry when I was a kid, but I didn't realize it was all math. I mean, kids can see the relevance of things that they're doing in school and how they can get to their goals, and we can help them do that. And the thing that eScholar is looking to do is to help educators, help students see how to connect their goals to what they're doing in school right now, and really try to address how students are engaged in school. One of the biggest challenges we've got is students being engaged in school. So if they can see the relevance of what they're doing in school today to the goals that are important to them, this can be incredibly powerful. I'm not going to argue that this is easy, but what we're looking to do in eScholar, and what we're doing, is to make it less difficult. Now, we started talking to teachers and students about what they wanted to see in the education system. What we found was they wanted complementary things. What teachers wanted is they wanted more time to be able to know their students better and to work with them individually to achieve success in the eyes of each individual student. What we heard from students was that they wanted their teachers to know them better, to understand what they wanted to do and help them go and achieve it. They were both asking for the same thing. And we realized this is a role we could play. We can put information in your hands as teachers about what students want to do. They can share that information about their goals. So we can't fix the time problem, but what we can do is we can give you better information about where a student stands toward their goals and what their goals are, and help you bring those things together. That brings me to a term that we've been using a lot lately, around personalized education. We talked about it in all these other fields that I've been involved in the past, everything was about personalization. Well, we're talking about personalized education. I realize it's similar to the term that we hear a lot now about personalized learning. I would argue that personalized learning is kind of redundant because, first off, only individual people learn. So it's personal by definition if I'm learning here. What I'm talking about with personalized education is taking the education system and focusing it on the individual needs and goals of each individual student. So it's a lot more than just personalized learning. And what we found is the key to personalized education is student goals. Those are the things that are different for each and every student. And then when you look at the combination of the skills and the capabilities that they've got right now and their goals, every single one of them is different. So we need to know their skills, we need to know where they are in terms of their progression toward their goals, and we need to know their goals. This is what gives us the ability to help students move forward toward their goals. Not just forward, but forward toward their goals. Not just forward to the next grade and to the next skill that they need to learn, but forward toward their goals. There we go. I knew that was going to come up. This graph, it depicts what we found when we started talking to students about their goals. The vertical axis, we're looking at what we're calling the boldness or the size of student goals. And the horizontal axis, we're looking at where students are in their lives. What was really interesting about this when we looked at this, and one of the questions when you ask about goals, one pushback we've gotten is people say, oh, student goals sound really great. Let's start talking about them when they're in high school or so and they can start figuring out what their careers are. Well, look at this graph. Let me tell you about it. The boldness of the goals seemed to peak in elementary school, somewhere around 4th grade. It's when they wanted to do big things. You get into middle school and high school, students become more realistic. Get toward the end of college, a lot of them are thinking about, I just want to get a job. I want to pay my student loans. That's what I want to do. Get to be about my age, most of us, we just want to retire. So what we need to do is engage students in their goals and how their education can help them achieve their goals. And we need to do it when they're in about 4th grade. Here are the kinds of things they want to do when they're in about 4th grade. This is when they want to write music that will touch people's hearts. They want to write a novel that will transport people to other places. They want to build things. They want to build spacecraft that will take us to other planets. They want to end wars. They want to end discrimination. They want to achieve big and powerful goals. You know what's the most popular thing that students wanted to do when we surveyed them in elementary school? They want to be teachers. They want to do big and powerful things. They want to help other students achieve their goals. So we have to engage students in their goals early. Now, what about students that don't have goals? Because when we did our survey, we found that the majority, maybe it was a slight majority, maybe 60% of students couldn't really articulate any particular goal at that point in time. I think we've all probably been there. This is a very important role that teachers can play, is helping students set goals, helping students understand what they can do with their lives and with their skills and with their interests. And realize, especially when you look at the beginning of this graph, how important teachers are in this equation. In fact, I would argue if we engage students in their goals when they're in elementary school and they can see how their education relates to those goals and they can see a track to get to achieve their goals, we can actually change the shape of this graph. I think it's a tragedy that it trails off to nothing when we get older. So once we know goals, What can we do with those things? I'll give you one example. Remember we talk about, and we've helped manage data, and I want to be clear, eScholar doesn't own any of these data. We're helping you educators manage data for millions of students, billions of records of data. So there are things that we've worked with a number of your colleagues to see. For example, if we know that a student wants to be an architect when she grows up, there's data about students who've grown up to be architects in there. Of those millions of students, there are students who have grown up to be architects. And we can show her that these are some of the relevant things you need to do. If you want to be a veterinarian, okay, these are the kinds of things, courses you want to take, grades you want to get, so you're ready for organic chemistry when you get to your freshman year in college. This can be incredibly valuable if we have both the goals of the student and these data. We can show them the tracks to actually achieving their goals. One other inhibitor for students that we can address with data is this belief that nobody like me ever went and achieved anything. It's prevalent. I grew up with that. I mean, where I grew up in Kentucky, the biggest aspiration was to go work on the farm. What we can see in the data is if you think nobody like you ever went and achieved anything, you're wrong. I don't care how you define like you. If you say nobody like me, a C student like me, that wasn't me actually, but if I was a C student, you look in the data, there are C students who've gone and done really amazing things. Nobody like me in this bad neighborhood ever went and did anything great. It's not true. You can look in the data, it's simply not true. So we can debunk that whole myth right there. I had that debunked for me because when I was in high school, one of my good friends that I hung out and I hunted and fished with and everything like that, he got a scholarship to go to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Like for me, that was a huge wake-up call. It's like my friend Steve, who he and I were kind of similarly nerdly, and like he's going off to do great and powerful things. It's like, well, I guess I could do that. You know, maybe not that. I wasn't able to get into the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, but I decided I was going to go off and do something. We don't want that to happen by luck. I was lucky that happened to me. We can do that systematically. We can look at the data and we can show them. However you think about yourself, somebody like you went off and did great and powerful things.